Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? This is the Board of Commissioners voting session. Today is Tuesday, the 28th of January, and we are at the Assembly Hall at 901 Main Street in Conyers, Georgia, 312. It is now 10 o'clock a.m. At this time, I'm going to call this meeting to order, and with the Reverend Walter Brown from Good Hope, please do us the honors of doing the invocation, and then follow that by the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Good morning, staff.
Good morning.
Member. How y'all doing today? It's a pleasure to be here once more again.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thankful. Let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, Father, we come here this morning thanking you for being able to wake up one more time. Father, you just done so much for us, Father. Father, just bless the staff member today. Bless the one that here. Not only one that here, Father, bless the one that on the byways and highways, Father, and bless the ones on high in the prison bar, and also at the hospital, Father. Father, we come to you this morning thanking you for everything you've done. And then, Father, look down on us, Father, and give us an open mind where we can have a better understanding. These blessings, all other blessings. In your Son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Commissioner, if you would, Commissioners, if you please join me at the podium for a proclamation, please. For the Severe Weather Awareness Proclamation. Chief Morgan and those involved.
Good morning. I bring to you a proclamation by the Board of Commissioners. Whereas each year, citizens in Rockdale County and across Georgia face the threat of severe weather events such as lightning, thunderstorms, floods, flash floods, hailstorms, tornadoes, and hurricanes, which are all potentially dangerous to life, health, and property. And whereas severe weather events in Georgia have killed at least 360 people since 1978, including 8 in 2013, injured countless others, and caused substantial damage in Georgia. And whereas local, state, and federal government departments and agencies, along with elected officials, volunteer and professional associations, faith-based organizations, the private sector, and the news media are committed to informing citizens about safety and severe weather preparedness procedures so that they may better protect themselves, their families, and neighbors. And whereas it is also essential that state and local agencies continue to work in partnership to design and deliver effective public education programs that focus on severe weather systems and emergency preparedness. And whereas the state of Georgia launched Ready Georgia, a public awareness campaign dedicated to helping citizens understand the importance of emergency preparedness and providing them with the tools necessary to be prepared in the event of a weather-related or other emergency. And whereas on a local level, Rockdale County Fire Rescue, E911, and the Sheriff's Office will spotlight the significance of weather preparedness by educating Rockdale residents through social media about the important steps they can take to prepare their families and neighbors before severe weather hits. And encourage citizen participation in various weather awareness programs during Severe Weather Awareness Week. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Board of Commissioners, are pleased to recognize February 3rd through 7th, 2014, in Rockdale County as Severe Weather Awareness Week. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of Rockdale County to be affixed on this 28th day of January 2014. Signed, Chairman and CEO Richard A. Oden, Commissioner Post 1, Oz Nesbitt, and myself, Commissioner Post 2, Janice Van Ness. Do you have any?
Yes, and during Severe Weather Awareness Week, I hope everyone pays attention because we do it in early February, because late February, March, and April is when Georgia normally gets hit with severe weather. We'll be putting things out on Facebook. We'll be pushing people to sign up for Weather Warn and Code Red, and we'll be highly emphasizing situational awareness, know where safe rooms are, know where safe rooms in your businesses are, and to have weather alert radios in your homes and businesses just like you have smoke detectors. So please pay attention. It is very important to us. Thank you.
Chief, any comments about today's weather?
I was going to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, also today is a perfect time for this because we do have some very severe weather coming down the pipe. It's going to impact our entire region, as a matter of fact. They are anticipating as much as 2 inches of snow in some parts of this area. I'm not sure how far that will go down. They said as far as south is below Macon. So we will be making some decisions today. We have a coordinated effort. The chief will work with the school system, the sheriff. We've already prepared. I've talked to transportation last night. We got salt trucks, sand trucks ready to go. Parks and Recreation, we're ready to go. And all the teams are on board for whatever is going to come down. We are prepared, whatever we have to do. I do know the school, I think, is closing at...
They are on early release today, 11:30, 12:30, and 1:30 for the elementary, middle, and high school.
Okay. And we'll be giving you further updates around 12 o'clock. So thank you so very much. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Do we?
Yeah, let's get a shot, Commissioner Nesbitt.
Oh, trying very hard.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and then at least bring up Tanisha Lanier. I know we had said back in October, November that we wanted to come up and do a neighborhood stabilization program update. And Ms. Tanisha Lanier is our coordinator and contractor for that particular program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Tanisha Lanier, Rockdale County NSP Coordinator. I come before you today to bring an update regarding the Rockdale County Neighborhood Stabilization Program. And just as a recap, we've sourced probably over a couple hundred properties with hopes to bring the properties to fruition from a foreclosure to a home buyer. To date, we have placed, sold 50 properties from 2010 to 2009 through 2013. And that is a total of 117 persons occupying those 50 properties. Out of the 50 properties, we have 33 families that already were Rockdale residents. And then we have probably about 15 of those families who were employed in Rockdale County and moved to Rockdale County. As far as the funding is concerned, initially we started out with $1.7 million for the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, and through NSP3, program income, and other sources of funds, we ended up somewhere around $6 to $7 million, including the program income from the sale of the properties. As most of you know, the market is improving, and with this program, we can only purchase foreclosed properties. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to acquire properties because there are not a lot of foreclosures as there were back in 2009 and 2010. So when we place an offer on a property, you know, it may be 10 offers on one property. And program guidelines requires the program to purchase the properties for at least a 1% discount. Most of the other bidders, buyers, investors are bidding more than list price. So it makes it more difficult for us as a program to acquire properties. However, we do have several properties that we're working on and that we were successful in bidding. We're going through the inspection and the due diligence process on those properties. Regarding foreclosures, Kent Asher with MIS keeps us updated regarding the amount of foreclosures each month. And just to kind of give you a visual, in 2010, We had 325 parcels advertised as foreclosures. If you look moving forward to, let's see here, 2011, at 153 advertised properties, 2012, 102 properties, and if you fast forward to the latter part of 2013, there were 77 parcels advertised, and then January 2014, there were only 60 properties advertised foreclosures. So the amount of available inventory for the program is a little bit more shallow.
Tanisha, will the Department of Community Affairs or Department of HUD, I know we have other meetings coming down the pipe at the Atlanta Regional Commission and through, will they be adjusting those criteria in terms of foreclosed homes? Is there any talk of that right now?
There is no talk of that. I foresee that the program will eventually phase out and just continue to operate from program income. And then once your program income is completely expended, then pretty much the program would be closed out in their books, just because that the program has been effective nationwide, and we've minimized the number of foreclosures, including other sorts of programs. So the need for the program is not as high. However, there is still some impact because we offer the down payment assistance to families, so it makes it easier and more affordable for families to get into properties.
Great. Also, wait. Okay. What we've also noticed is that, as I serve on the Committee of Environment, Land Use, and Housing Division at the Atlanta Regional Commission, we've noticed a major surge in investors. She mentioned why the numbers are high on the beginning side and now they're getting lower. There's a number of investors, companies in the region and across the country that are outbidding the NSP program. And so therefore what we're experiencing across this region, across this state, and across this country is a lot of rental homes. So people have lost homes now are becoming renters. And so that's a concern for what we see, because those property investors are sitting on those homes, and some of those homes are still kind of vacant. And what we don't want to see happen somewhere about 5-10 years down the road is a massive influx of homes being purchased, sold, which could be another devastating area. But just keep an eye on that, because you'll see a lot of for rental signs going up in your communities, and those actually are people who may be first-time renters or first-time home buyers, but that's what you'll see happening going forward.
There are several $1 million that, that's coming down from DCA regarding rental housing programs. We got the notice probably a few weeks back, rental housing and down payment assistance. So there are other similar type programs to help the community, but just the NSP was a vehicle to minimize foreclosures.
Mr. Chairman, let me say this. Of course, I've been following this program closely because originally it could have made a huge impact in the community, but because of the different complexities that you just described a few minutes ago, it's not been as effective as I think all of us had wished. And for me, the ultimate goal was really to create an environment with more stakeholders in the community by home ownership, and then also to help improve our tax digest situation. So when houses were purchased for $50,000 in a $200,000 average neighborhood, it would bring down the values of all the others if there were more than 3 of the homes at those lower prices. So to increase those values would have been a very important part of this program, and that is why we have the Home Valuation Committee that's working on addressing the tax digest and increasing home values. But I do want to say that I think it would be in our benefit as a board to jointly create a letter to send to DCA and other funding sources to really express our concern with the limitations of foreclosures. And I will bring to mind one example in particular that Ms. Lanier and I talked about. In a neighborhood that we are trying to improve and stabilize, which is Fieldstone View, there was a home for sale. There were no foreclosures, and it's more of a rental community, but it could be greatly impacted if we could use some of the funds for this neighborhood. There was a home for, it was actually a duplex, I believe, for sale for $42,000, but that was not something that we could actually use the funds for, but it would certainly improve the neighborhood significantly if we were able to have home ownership in that neighborhood. So, if we could craft a letter as a board, I think it would be important to maybe make some suggestions and on different funding options for counties to use the funding that was given to them, if that's of interest to the other board members.
I think anything that's going to ultimately improve our neighborhoods and create a more area of stabilization makes sense. I was just under the clear impression that this was all through federal funding, and I don't know what impact, if any, a letter would have on the criteria of the already outlined federal guidelines coming from us. I'm not saying that it would be effortless. Again, I'm in support of anything that's going to create more stabilization in our local community, but I knew that, correct me if I'm wrong, about this being federal guidelines in terms of strict criteria, and the grant is the way it's outlined. Is that correct? Or?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that typically is the case, but certainly those changes do come from somewhere, and I think
They
it would
do.
be in our citizens' best interest to go ahead and write a letter and, send our interest for them to review the guidelines. I think when it was originally put in place, certainly they had no idea that the investors would be so aggressive, and I know that there was actually a house for sale for $58,000, and they had 30 bids and the high bid of $72,001. So people are certainly aggressive with these homes that are lower priced, and I think we just have to think outside of the box and see if there's some other options that we have as a community.
I would certainly support a letter that would that will allow us to have more flexibility with the program and how we determine how funds are put toward bringing more stabilization. You talked about the Fieldstone community.
Fieldstone View.
Fieldstone View
Right.
over there. I know exactly where you're talking about, where some of the townhomes are. That particular area does need all the help it can get, and anything that we as a board could do to help enhance it would certainly be a plus for the overall community, especially in that area.
Well, thank you for your robust comments, and we definitely want to consider everything. I could say this is that here again, many of those questions are being addressed, even as today, because I got to have a meeting that was canceled at 11:30 today. The Environment and Land Use Committee, a subcommittee on poverty, a lady by the name of Alyssa Johnson is presenting her Georgia budget on policy by the Policy Institute, recovery or bust. The Georgia poor left behind. And it addresses what we're talking about, because what the restrictions was with the Neighborhood Stabilization Program is we had to deal in specific census tracts. And those specific census tracts left us with two specific areas in Rockdale County, which limit us to certain communities and neighborhoods. So we had to fall within those guidelines. So if those guidelines would be addressed by DCA or the federal government, HUD, then therefore we could be able to address some of those concerns of expanding the program. But NSP3 is what we have to work with now is the program income, as Tanisha mentioned. As we continue to move those pieces over time, the program income, depending on the cost of the home, is going to be depleted. So in about a few years, this program will probably ultimately phase out unless the federal government comes with another program. Would I be close to saying?
Correct.
There are other groups, and there's a group called that you work closely with called Piece by Piece. Tell us about that organization's.
The Piece by Piece initiative was founded back in 2010, and it was bringing all of the communities together collectively, to all the stakeholders at the table, to discuss possible options to help minimize foreclosures, bringing the programs forth that are working, and sharing ideas in order to kind of attack the foreclosure crises. And it's been very effective, and so we're kind of proud of that initiative.
There's close to 100 organizations, which includes mortgage companies, banks, investors, all kinds of collaborative partners in this Piece by Piece program, headed by John O'Callaghan. And also we brought in the secretary of HUD as well as using the regional folks. So the region is really on top of this game plan. We have to follow the federal guidelines, but I too support, I think if we write our communication or visit the Llano Regional Commission, the housing division of that component, I think we can get the same thing accomplished because it'd be more of us working together in collaboration. I think it would be very, very helpful for us to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer that I'll craft the letter with Ms. Lanier's assistance to present something to the board
Okay.
for support.
Okay. Is there any other comments or updates, Ms. Lanier? Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to expand a little bit on the value, appraised value that Commissioner Van Ness spoke about. When we keep a database of the cost of the property in comparison with the disposition value, how much we sell the home back to the home buyer. And on average, the program has increased home values 19.67%, which is about $22,000. And that's an average. We have some, some outliers where we've increased the value over $50,000 with our work. And then on the lower end, we have some that are right around $4,000, $14,000. So the program overall has been very effective with increasing the values. And if you notice now, when you pull listings on the internet, you see that the cost of homes has increased significantly. And this, has been one of the factors in value increase.
In 2013, how many homes have we purchased and placed people in?
Purchased and placed in 2013, I want to say about 13 properties that we purchased for 2013.
Okay.
And I think we have maybe 11 families in homes, and we have the other 2 are under contract for purchase.
Good, okay. And for more information, how can community members find out about the program?
Our office line is 770-278-7141, and also program information is on the website at rockdalecounty.org. On the home screen, if you click on the Revitalization of Communities logo, it takes you directly to the page regarding NSP.
Okay.
And thank you. And I can tell you that our coordinator is praised throughout the entire region and by others. Clayton has a very successful program, and they have more money, and you do a very good job because
Thank you.
they really praise you. I hope they don't steal you from us. So thank you so much. Any other comments?
No other comments, sir.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
At this time, Commissioner, we've all been provided with the minutes of January the 14th and January 24th. Do we notice any errors and omissions on the minutes?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't, so I'd like to move to approve the minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Madam Clerk, is there amendments to the agenda as published today?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda and the regular agenda as published.
I second that motion.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 7, consent agenda, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda as listed below.
I second that
I
motion.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you so very much. Regular agenda. Item number 36, please.
Good morning again. Dan Morgan. I'm Director of EMA and Fire Chief, Rockdale County. Before you is a resolution for your adoption that deals with the Rockdale County Hazard Mitigation Plan. This is an amendment and an update to the existing plan. This all dates back from the Hazard Mitigation Act of 2000. The plan that is before you is a modification of the one that was approved in 2008 and amended in 2009, December, after the floods. This has to be done every 4 years, and it addresses natural and technological hazards in our community, and it is a linchpin of getting federal funding. We must have one to apply for FEMA grants.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution as presented.
I second that
I
motion.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you very much. Item number 37, please.
Good morning.
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 Marshall Walker, Director of Planning and Development. I have before you a resolution, a ratification of a resolution to direct the stormwater utility to repair stormwater infrastructure along Bridgewater Way. We've sent you some information last week on this. We had a complaint, we went out, we did indeed have a rather large sinkhole and access to one home. The driveway was in danger. We have solidified the driveway, filled in the sinkhole. Those are temporary measures, but we had to act quickly to do that, so we're asking for the ratification. The issue is a pipe along the south side of Bridgewater Way that will need to be replaced. It will impact 4 to 5 houses. So we will have to get a contractor out for that. We ask for the ratification to allow us to work on private property.
Mr. Chairman, I move to ratify this resolution as presented.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Very much. Item number 238, please. Item number 38, transportation.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Item 38 is a contract for funding for the Sigmund Geese Mill intersection. A couple weeks ago, you approved the prior contract that was submitted by GDOT. Unfortunately, there was an error in that contract, and when they got it back signed by the BOC, they noticed the error and indicated they would not sign it. So they sent us a new contract, and that's what's before you today. The funding level, the contract amount is $1,604,172.80, and the funding allocation at this time is $575,000. Now, because they made the error, they are looking for a way to, later on, after the contract is approved, to try and find additional funding, and then if they do, and at that time, I would be back before the board to amend the contract to supply the additional funding.
Okay.
So does that mean their additional funding would be up to the point of the 1.6 million?
That's what I had. No, well, it's at 80-20, so it would be 80% maximum that they would contribute. And that is what we requested, and typically that's what we request of all contracts.
Right.
And apparently somebody made the error in allocating that amount when it wasn't available. But since they made the mistake, that's what we requested, that they go back to the amount that they originally had allocated. Again, no promises, but they're still
So the
looking.
prior agreement that we passed said that it would be funded at 80% by GDOT.
It was close to 80%.
Okay.
It wasn't exactly, but close to it.
So now we're down to about 33%
That
of
is correct.
funding. And do you have in writing an agreement to try and fund up to the 80%?
No.
Can you get something in writing?
I don't know that they would provide anything in writing. They indicated that it was an error, and that's all that they could sign at this time. So we're constantly working with them to try and identify additional funding on our projects. But it's not, I don't think that they would provide a letter indicating that because they made an error.
And is
that they
this a
would,
SPLOST-funded project?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, let me just say this. I know that GDOT has a tremendous amount of turnover. So when you have that conversation with one person, it means nothing 2 months later when they get a new person. I just think it would be in the best interest for our funding and financial situation to have some kind of email chain of events or something. And if they won't commit, I mean, I might even talk to a supervisor to see if there's some way we could get some type of feedback or information that would be closer to that 80%.
We certainly will press them to provide whatever assurances they can, but again, the funding was not there to incorporate into the project, and so that now they're looking to see if they could allocate it.
So tell me what that does to our SPLOST funding, because we have a set amount of dollars to work with, and I know we have quite a few projects on the list.
But well, it impacts certainly, because any additional funding that we have to expend on a project is not available for other projects. But the amount that was originally anticipated that we would expend is exactly what the contract says now. So what happened was that the error put us to the good, and now we're back to where we were. So the amount that was originally anticipated to be expended out of SPLOST is what this contract stipulates now.
Now, how is that? Because I thought most of your projects, the financial piece of it was at the 80-20 split.
No, that is the goal, but they could be anywhere from 25% to 80%. It depends on the available funding and what the original estimate is. Some of these projects take many, many years to get to this stage, and perhaps the allocation initially might have been at the 80% level, but when the design was completed, the estimate went up, and so the allocation remains at the lower level. We always try to get additional funding up to the 80%, but we're not always successful.
So I want to go back to a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago to a somewhat related item, which was the path that would be created on another section of Sigmund Road. Okay? You remember that?
Yes, I.
Okay. So I've had several people in the community ask, so when is that going to tie into the horse park? Are we planning in this intersection improvement for any allowances for bike lanes or ulterior transportation?
Not with this particular project, but that will be incorporated into the widening project, which is another phase that may occur 8, 10, 12 years down the line. This particular intersection improvement will keep the intersection at 2 lanes, or the roads approaching roads at 2 lanes. It will add turn lanes, but it will not widen to the full 4-lane configuration that Sigmund Road eventually will.
So is that
be
where,
designed
is that what you're looking at, is when it's 4 lanes, then bike lanes can go in?
That is correct.
So when and only if there's 4 lanes?
That is correct. Well, at least with the current program projects.
And is that determination made at your level or by GDOT?
That determination, if we're seeking federal funding, is made at the federal level. It starts with us, with our comprehensive transportation plan, and it goes to the ARC, and it goes to GDOT, and it goes to Federal Highway. So when there is a federal funding allocation, the concept has been reviewed all the way up to the federal level.
So there were also additional funds at the state level that GDOT distributed for T grants. There were additional funding for bike lanes and things like that, path systems.
Unfortunately, that program, it doesn't exist anymore.
Not even in another form?
Well, all of the funding for different modes of transportation were rolled into a different program, but the TE program does not exist anymore. That was part of the safety loop, or the old federal allocation, funding allocation program. It has been phased out.
So no bike lanes are being planned?
They
With state
are being
dollars.
planned, but not under TE. The TE no longer exists. They're being programmed now under the alternative mode of transportation.
Okay, and are we adopting, I guess, a mindset in Rockdale County to make that available as much as possible?
Absolutely. That's why we were successful in landing the funding allocation on Sigmund Road, because we pursued incorporating alternative modes of transportation on that project.
You know, in addition to that, you know, that's a great line of questioning, Commissioner, because there again, as we continue to, this is why there's regional significance and value here, because nothing gets done here in Rockdale County unless you're at the state or you're at the regional offices. Atlanta Regional Commission is what they call the Metropolitan Planning Organization for almost 29 different counties. And then in the MSA, you have 10 counties, which we are part of the 10 county under the Atlanta Regional Commission. So Miguel serves as our technical liaison at the Atlanta Regional Commission. He's down there 2 or 3 times a week. In addition to that, we added another component to that, and we added another citizen member. We did not have a citizen member on the ARC panel for over 20-something years. Well, we were successful by being downtown Atlanta to get a citizen member, and Mike Bouchard, who is our chairman of our transportation subcommittee on our SPLOST committee, is also down there. So we're down and working with the Department of Transportation, Greta, MARTA, you name it, we're there, GDOT as well. And so when you look at GDOT in terms of their era here on this particular incident, we're not going to press them because we're going to find other monies other places. So you work in collaboration and partnerships with these individuals and say, hey, okay, we're going to move forward. So, oh, but by the way, we got this project we want to take a look at. Would you give us some consideration? This is how we're moving a lot of different projects. You get the Gateway project on I-20, the Boulder program, and there's other programs we're engaged in. And I want to encourage you to, anytime you get an opportunity, go down to Atlanta Regional Commission and just watch some of those meetings, how they work, because if you're not there at the table, you get left behind. So I want to thank you, and I want to talk about that a little bit later on after I go to my comments, because it was a great meeting last night. So thank you for that, and even though we kind of slipped at 33%, Commissioner, we're gonna make that up, okay? And Gees Mill Road and Sigmund Road, that 4-lane, that 2 lanes for the turn lane, it's gonna be very impactful as Hill Feeds begin to open up their operation, and it's gonna be an overall beautiful project over a period of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So do we need, we had a motion, that's a motion on the floor, is that correct? Or do we need to call for a motion?
No, there's not a motion on the floor.
Call for a motion on item number 38.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second that motion.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you. Item number 39 is a policy amendment. Who wants to do that? Is that Katrina, or is that the Chief of Staff?
And this is an item for discussion.
Yeah,
correct?
good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Item 2014-39 is an amendment to the current inclement policy. It is before you at the chairman's request. The amended version that is before you addresses things such as it updates the pay and administrative leave section of the policy. The public safety portion of it remains the same. How hours are calculated is another example of one of the things that it better addresses. On the administrative pay, I would defer to Mr. Bowie to come up and maybe talk about that just a second if he doesn't mind. And if you have other questions, I'll attempt to answer them, or we'll have one of the staff come up.
Well, let me ask you this, Chief. Before you call up Mr. Bowie, could you just kind of give us the outline of the chairman's direction so we'll have an idea of that, and then perhaps if there's a need for Mr. Bowie to kind of chime in, I think first, so that the two, Post 1 and Post 2, will have an understanding of what direction the chairman is going in.
Well, I think this one better addresses the necessity to determine whether we come in late or leave early, as you might know.
How does it read?
Well, the chairman and board of commissioners, or his designee, I'll just read the first paragraph to you if that's okay, or his designee will determine whether inclement weather necessitates the closing of county facilities. If the decision is made to close the facilities, all employees are encouraged to call the Rockdale County Emergency Notice Line, which, as you're aware, is currently in place, and replaces the need for different managers throughout the organization to call down the line. Okay. And employees to encourage all Rockdale County Emergency Notice Line after 6 a.m. Additional closing announcements will be made on radio, television stations, and as you're aware, we now have the social media through Ms. Parker's office, so that'll become an intricate part, as well as the county's website, which has traditionally been used. It'll also appear on Rockdale Channel 23 for information that will get out to the employees. So we have multiple ways of...
Can you tell me why this wasn't brought before the work session that we had last week?
I cannot answer it. I'll defer that to the chairman if you don't mind.
Yeah, let me get for clarity. Katrina, could you come also? There's some clarification here that you might want to just add to minimize any additional confusion.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. To clear it up a little bit, the inclement policy that was created in 1998 needed to be amended. As you will see, if you have it, the first paragraph states that the elected officials and department heads will be notified by phone of the closing. With the updated way that we're notifying employees if we're closed or delayed for timing, the amended policy states If the decision is made to close the facilities, all employees are encouraged to call the Rockdale County Emergency Notice Line after 6 a.m. Additional closing announcements will be made on local radio, television stations, and posted on the county website, Rockdale 23, and the county official social media outlets. So what it does includes all of the new tools that we're using. And it replaces the old phone tree system, and it's a more streamlined.
And what is that phone number for emergency closures?
770-278-7002. And also bring your attention to the second paragraph, the last sentence that states, "None of the above shall prohibit a regular employee from using accumulated sick or vacation time." The county no longer use sick or vacation time, so Director Bowie recommended to change it to accumulated paid time off, which is PTO. So the PTO, and with the new way that we notify employees, brings us into compliance. And this is the amended, updated policy.
So another aspect is how you notify the public, and
We notify the public through television, posted on the county website, Twitter,
and
Facebook.
local media outlets.
Yes, and Tanya Parker, who is the director of CAIP, handles that portion, and Jim Howe, who's the director of MIS, posted on the website. So we have a lot of tools so that the public and the employees are notified when we're closed or delayed.
So one of my questions and concerns is sometimes the school system is the guiding body for closures. However, most often, the school systems will close early like they are today because of issues with transportation and the buses. Their buses have to go over bridges, they have to go to very rural areas of the county, and that's a very different situation from a lot of employees who travel on main thoroughfares and things of that nature. So I wouldn't want our county offices to be tied into what the school system does.
No,
because
it's not.
As leaders in this community, I think it's very important for us to make sure that we have the public safety in place, which I'm sure that we do, but also the administrative offices. I know people tend to panic when they have they've waited to the last minute, as many of us do, for their tag on their birthday, and the panic starts of, I don't know when I can take my next day off, and those kind of things. So, certainly something to think about. If we do have to close early or be closed, does that mean we'll be open a longer time period the next day for the tag office or some of those more public-oriented services
Right, but
that
as
we
you
provide?
know, the tag office is constitutional officer, so RJ will have to make that decision if he stays open later or however he wants to do that. But this is just covering the administrative offices that's up under the chairman. But we're not in sync with the school system. So if the school closes at 2 o'clock, we're not going to close at 2 o'clock. Or if they close at 11, we're not going to close at 11. The chairman gets his direction from Chief Morgan, who collaborates with the sheriff. And then Chief Morgan will let chairman know, and then chairman will notify myself, the chief of staff, and Tanya Parker, and Jim Howe, so we can spread the message if we're closed or if we're delaying.
Well, I think this is a great conversation, and I think a lot of these updates are important, but I would think that we certainly need to have a meeting with all of the elected officials to make sure that we're all on the same page and that the customers are being provided the services that are necessary.
Right.
Have the other elected officials even seen this information?
No, they have not, because like the court system, we have to...
Chief Morgan, would you come up, please? Let me just kind of weigh in here because...
Can she finish answering my question, please?
Have other elected officials been a part of this conversation? Chief Morgan is the director of the emergency management. Prior to that was Sheriff Jeff Wigginton. So they do collaborate with all the other departments. And in terms of the constitutional office and elected officials, we did close before, and the judge got a call from Judge Irwin.
Yes. That,
hey, you guys, we waited till the last minute to close the office down. He says, hey, wait a minute. I've got court at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm opening my courthouse. So they are in communication, but as we continue to go through this process, there are two basic changes to this policy, It's a text change.
Yes.
Text amendment change to those various few words in the policy here that you see here. And as she indicated on the line first paragraph, we have more technology now, so we don't have to just use by telephone.
Correct.
And the other component is that we don't have accumulated sick days and paid time off now. We're going to the accumulated PT, paid time off, and earned documented calls. Those are the changes to this text amendment in this particular policy here for inclement weather. And communicate with all other entities, we will continue to move out. That will be Chief Morgan's, and you'll see, you got your chart with you by chance?
Yes, I do. And to quickly answer, do you
That
need?
chart, yeah. Chief?
Quickly to answer, when we first used it, maybe like a couple of, weeks ago, when we were delayed at 11:30,
Yes.
there was a representative from the court that contacted myself and Tanya to let us know that they would be opening at normal business hours. So that message was relayed on the notification line. So when individuals called, they would know that although we were delayed until 11:30, that the courts would be in session at regular normal business hours.
And I must tell you that that message wasn't communicated to me. I was told that we would open at a later time. The courts were never mentioned, and I guess that's my concern.
On the phone line, it was
Well,
mentioned.
I don't call the phone line because I've never been instructed to do that. I got a call, and I was told the offices would open later. So, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, and that, I'm not told one message and somebody that might have a court date is told another. I can only imagine the chaos it would create for our court system. So, I think we're moving in the right direction, but I just think there needs to be a more
Ms.
clear,
Parker did
concise,
an
general
outreach.
direction.
Ms. Parker did an outreach with everybody to pass out the magnets and the phone. So employees are aware of the number. They are calling. This morning when I got in, it was close to 100 calls on that line, probably checking overnight to see if we would be closed today. So they are aware. They are using the tools. And so it's a very great way to go since we have updated technology now. And so it is beneficial. And as when I came in here, they were continuing to call. So.
Right.
And to further streamline the process, prior to, E911 reports right directly into the Fire and Rescue Department, and they receive the calls from the Sheriff Department. So in streamlining the process, the Sheriff Department would call E911, which is our system. E911 would then call the Fire Department, and the Fire Department would then call the chairman. And so what we've done is now that E911 and the Sheriff and the courts all work, and the fire chief, all working together on the same level playing. They had a meeting on yesterday with all the players that we talked about earlier and getting ready for preparation for mitigation if we had to go that route. School system, the city, the EMS, E911, transportation, Parks and Recreation, Water and Resources, all these teams are working together, so they're not asleep at the wheel. So, Chief, can you talk about your meeting yesterday that you had yesterday with your team, please?
I can. In preparation for the event today and as a model for what we will continue to do, we did meet with Sheriff's Department. We had a briefing from the National Weather Service over the computer. I spoke with department heads through a number of different departments, everyone from RDOT to the Water Department, to see if they had any specific needs they could foresee for this type of event. And then we made a plan, made sure everything was lined up, ready to go. Did contact City of Conyers Police Department, and the school system to see what their anticipated plans and or needs were and how they would react to have a unified response. Everything from the Parker Road Bridge to how the schools are going to run their buses this afternoon. And so, in my mind, we are well aware. And so all that is put together in a situational briefing, which I have sent to the chairman yesterday and again this morning, to have the best information possible to make the decisions about closing offices early, not opening them at all, or leaving them open normal business hours. So at this point, I think we're just in a wait and see mode, but that's how I intend to operate unless directed otherwise. I feel very comfortable with that system.
Very good. Thank you. Any question? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think one of the points that my colleague, Commissioner Van Ness, was making certainly we are in so many ways still a very quaint community, and the communication does have to be clear and it has to be consistent. What we're doing here on the county campus in conjunction with what's going on with the judicial system, with several different residents or citizens calling various different elected officials, i.e. the three of us county commissioners. I may get a series of calls from folks who feel comfortable calling me. So will Commissioner Van Ness, and so will the chairman. We need to make certain that the information that we are giving to the general public is consistent and concise with what is happening here on the campus. As I looked at the chain of command, it's clear that the movement is through the chairman, and it goes out to the various different agencies throughout the county. I think there should be some inclusion of post 1 and post 2 so that we will be in the loop as to what that communication is in the event that any resident or citizen elects to call his or her county commissioner for information. And for an example, I think the last event just a few short weeks ago, there was some level of confusion. Folks who are having to go to court, they've received a court date, whether a subpoena to serve on a juror or to be a defendant or plaintiff in a case, versus the county over here, this side of operations being shut down. That could be confusing to the general public. So I think you're right. We are moving in the right direction, but it is important to make sure that your other two commissioners are somewhere in the beginning of that loop so that in the event that we're getting calls outside of what's coming into this office, we can say to any one of those citizens at any given time the exact same message and is consistent with what's happening out of the chairman's office. It's so important that sometimes, depending on the situation, Rockdale is a big place, the city of Conyers is a big place, and then depending on the situation, we're very quaint and very small. So in those instances, we need to make sure that we're on the same page. And I just wanted to point that out because sometimes communication can be quite complex for little or no reason at all.
We will address those concerns, and it points well taken. I mean, so that would, if you look at our chain there, then that message, the chart, then that chart there, I would include here when you talk about the that would come into the area of the chief of staff.
Right.
So the chief of staff, when if you want to put in your box here, call post 1, post commission on the blueprint, that might help that problem in communications. It seems like that's out of the loop. Okay. And so that's it. In this text amendment here, there might be a few more things here. There again, the basic changes is the communication on how you communicate landlines versus channel 23 is one change we want to put in place. The other change we want to put in place, Court, if you look at your second sheet, is the accumulate sick and vacation time. So that's the other text amendment, and there are probably some other text amendments in here that might be grammatical or two that would need to be changed. But what I need today is an up or down vote on this current policy. Otherwise, we reflect back to the old policy, which is a 1998 policy. That's what I need today.
Anywhere but backwards. I certainly don't want to support a 1998 policy, Mr. Chairman. I think with all the technology and where we're trying to continue to move Rockdale in a forward direction, the last thing we want to do is support something behind us. So I certainly support moving forward with the policy that's at hand, especially on a day like today when we're going to have some weather events taking place. We don't need to hold this policy hostage. I do agree that there may be a little bit tweaking needs to be done, but for the sake of where we are right now, I think it's important that we move forward. I make the motion that we approve this policy as presented.
And I'd like to second that motion
Text amendment.
with the text amendments that I've noted on for the record.
So I have a motion and a second on the text amendment for grammatics. Any further discussion?
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'm going to yield to the senior commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. I did want to note for the record that I hope that we will, as a proactive measure, Mr. Chairman, you'll work with our finance director to look at any cost impacts, since we are working on a very tight budget this year, any cost impact that would occur with early closings or delayed openings.
Thank you. And what I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, I don't think Post 1 or Post 2 are looking to be appeased by no means. I think that the Chief of Staff does a fine enough job in communicating with us. There doesn't need to be anything added to your chart here. I think it is where it is. Certainly we can get the message from the Chief of Staff's office as to when these events take place. That way, both myself and Commissioner Van Ness will be on the same wavelength. Other than that, it's simple, and let's just keep it simple.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Public comments, please. Madam Rutledge.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments relative to any issues that are currently going through the public hearing process, matters that are in active litigation, political campaigning, or partisan politics will not be heard in this meeting. Speakers are to address the chairman, not each other or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers and/or members of the audience shall be permitted.
Okay, thank you very much. Latoya, is that correct? Latoya Moore. Latanya. Okay, blame my head.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Latanya Moore. I am a new business owner here in Conyers. The name of our business is Opulence Enterprises Atlanta. We recently had our ribbon cutting just last week with the Chamber of Commerce. Want to talk a little bit about the reason that we chose Conyers and Rockdale County, and it's very simple. This is a growing area, and we are certainly looking to grow right along with this community, and so we're very excited to be here, certainly excited to be a part of this meeting. Opulence is a business consulting firm, and our particular services as it relates to small, medium-sized businesses, which includes small and medium-sized municipalities, is coming forth and providing opportunities for strategic growth, strategic planning, and certainly community outreach and development. Another area that we focus on is career empowerment, career engagement. We offer career coaching, executive coaching, services of that nature. We also offer management and subordinate training, having those critical conversations with employees. I am being mindful of the time. But our objective is simple. It's to get our clients moving towards upward mobility, and we are certainly happy to be a part of the Rockdale community. We have several different areas. One is our Equal Justice Initiative, which focuses on transitional populations. That's your veterans that are reintegrating back into society. That's our domestic violence victims that, of course, are reintegrating back into society, and also our persons that are being recently released from incarceration. And so we engage our business owners in helping them to take full advantage of the benefits of hiring and working with those communities. We're located right at 2008 Eastview Parkway, Suite 300, right off 138. Anyone that's interested can visit our website. We're at www.opcoach.com. That's OPPcoach, COACH.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did the chamber send y'all over here?
No.
Okay. Next, I have Josie Dean, please.
How y'all doing this morning?
Good.
Yeah, I just want to come today because the fireman was talking about fires and stuff, and we got to understand a lot of people in our neighborhoods don't have heat, and we just got to be mindful of that and pray that they keep those kids and their clothes and stuff away from the fires and stuff. Because we got to understand, sometimes people don't tell us what they really going through, and then they cut the funding for basically what they used to pay for the people, gas and stuff like that. If you never been poor and you never been through nothing, you wouldn't understand what means $1 to $1 million to you $1 may hurt somebody else. So we have to be mindful of that. And another thing about guns, they was talking about how guns, people leaving guns, everybody hollering about guns, and they leaving a lot of guns unprotected around children. You know, my dad used to leave a shotgun, double barrel shotgun in every corner. We knew not to go and get it because we know the consequences. But now I don't understand what we're teaching our children or what don't change between our children, that they would go and pick up a gun and don't know the consequences. So I just ask parents to make sure you begin to teach your kids consequences of guns and stuff. And another thing about Rockdale, we got to be known as a place of love. See, we keep doing all these politics. Y'all tell us don't do no politics stuff, but when y'all running, what's the difference? We need to verify what is politics when you over on this side and what is politics up there on y'all's side. So it's a whole different ball game when you start running for office and when people can have you doing one thing and they doing something else. So I just want y'all to make sure y'all learn to love each other. Learn to make sure that y'all see about each other. Make sure that Conyers, see, people dealing with the heart and whatever your city, how you treat your poor people, that's what makes people come in your city, come in your town. If I gotta feed my child and nobody give me a job, you may make me a thief and I'm not a thief. So see, sometimes these things are set aside to hurt people and downgrade people, and it makes people criminals. So Rockdale County, get these people jobs, like she was saying, when they come out of jail and stuff. Somebody gotta hire these people. Some of these people gotta feed their children. So make sure y'all open these doors up to get these people some jobs. See about y'all neighbors, and stop playing politics on the other side. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you. Alicia Nesbitt, may I ask?
You didn't have a hard time pronouncing Nesbitt.
No, I had something on my mind.
I just want to make sure now.
I was going to say, is there any relationship here?
No,
We've
not
been
that I
sitting
know
up here
of.
together too long for you to mess Nesbitt up.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
I'm just saying.
I'm Alicia Nesbitt, and I'm from eBlue Events. And I'm coming to y'all this morning to let you know about an event that we're having on Saturday, March the 29th. It's called the Conyers Food Truck Festival, and it will be at the Parker Road Field. We've been producing the Atlanta Street Food Festival for the past 2 years. We're going into our third year, and it's an event that brings out about 15,000 people to Piedmont Park each year. So we know what we're doing here, and what we're doing it out here because it's an event that will bring awareness to food trucks and bring them out to the community out here. So many of our co-workers and people that live out here in Conyers, as we do, just don't like going into Atlanta for events and things like that. It's a long drive, it's hard to park. So we figured, why don't we take this event and put it on a smaller scale and bring it out here to Conyers. So we'll have about 14 food trucks. We'll have live music and a DJ with a stage set up out there in the park. And we'll also taking care of, we have Witten Management that will be doing the sanitation services. We'll have porta potties out there. We've been in talks with the police department out here with Officer Sanders that's been coordinating security and also the flow of the traffic that will be going on out there. So it'll be a fun-filled day for people to come out and enjoy themselves, enjoy some food, and do something a little different than what they normally do. So our website is www.conyersfoodtruckfestival.com. And also right now we have a special going on Groupon for families. They can get their tickets for admittance for 2 for $10 and 4 for $19, which is great. The wristband does not cover the cost of food from the trucks, but it will give you $1 off of each menu item over $6 from the trucks. And it will also go towards some of the proceeds that will benefit the Colon Cancer Alliance. Each event that we do, we benefit a charity from it. So that's going to be our host charity for the event.
Thank you, Ms. Alicia Nesbitt. Is there a, did you have a contact number you want to throw out there, or you already did?
She gave the website,
Okay.
ConyerSFoodTruckFestival.com.
Okay. How about the Kenneth, is that Roy? With a Royed with a Y-E, Roy E. Okay. How you doing?
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kenneth Royer. As I stated, I'm actually the Director of Special Program Initiatives for Opulence Enterprises. I work closely with Ms. Latanya Moore. And as the Director of Special Program Initiatives, it is my charge to write, implement, and direct our transitional programming for veterans, victims of abuse, and ex-offenders, which I now call returning citizens. And I stand before the Commission today to just to speak to some of the things that our programs do, not just for the individuals, but that would do for the for healthier communities in Rockdale County on a whole. To allow people to transition, especially those transitioning back home from prison, the opportunities at employment, healthcare, and have affordable and available services to them It actually would be a benefit to the Rockdale community, to safer communities. As we know in the state of Georgia, the daily average number of inmates is over 57,000 people on average, and it costs taxpayers roughly $47 per day to house each one of these inmates. Just based solely on those numbers, if we we'll cut our recidivism numbers, which is the number of people that return to prison on new cases or on violations within the first 3 years after being released. If we reduce that number by 10%, it would save our state $31 million annually. So not only would we be helping to create that bond or restructure the family bond, we would also be adding tax-paying citizens and reducing the amount of recidivism and also the crime rates in our fair city and county of Rockdale. I am a veteran myself, so actually all 3 of the transitional programs that we run actually affected me personally. I'm a Desert Storm veteran, United States Air Force. I actually am a victim and a survivor of abuse as a child, and also was that young person who had some run-ins with the law and found myself on the wrong side of the law. I have, however, gotten my degree in business management since then and have worked to advocate for all 3 of those groups. And I would like to close by saying that I do what I do because ex-players make the best coaches.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you much. At this time, Commissioner Van Ness.
Yes, quickly, I'd like to just say that I'm thrilled to say our Chamber of Commerce here locally is having their annual luncheon, and it started at 11 o'clock, so we're going to all have to run to get to that today. But they were sold out days ago, which is really impressive, and that means that our business community is not only sustaining themselves, but they're thriving, and so very good news today. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a long-term staff member in Rockdale County, Julie Lynn Macy, who's done an outstanding job serving our community, and I wish her well in her very quick retirement because she's back to work probably the next week or next day. But we'll be celebrating tomorrow night with Julie Lynn. And then third, I'd just like to say to both of the companies that presented today, thank you very much for your initiative that you're taking in our community. I'm especially interested in the Food Truck Festival. I think that is a really hip, cool event that's going to be a great place to be. And I wish you well with that and look forward to the event in March. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Nesbitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't hold us up. I know we're trying to get down to the luncheon there. I will announce that on March the 4th, the Ready to Work Rockdale Job Readiness Program will be back in session again for the 2014 calendar year, and we are just as serious about getting people back to work in Rockdale County as we were in 2013. Thanks to the help and partnership of our Human Resource Director, Mr. Bowie, who came out and participated in that program last year, we were able to get 28 people back to work. Now, that may not seem like a lot of people to you, but when you talk about impacting the livelihoods or households of 28 families, that's a lot of people. So it makes a big difference. It put food on the table for folks who certainly need food and to have a roof over their head. I also want to say that Ms. Moore, Latanya, and Kenneth both will be a part of the Ready to Work program as we move throughout 2014. Oftentimes from local pastors, we're hearing about members who are part of the prison system who are trying to integrate back into society, and programs that will help them not just re-enter the community, but integrate back into everyday lifestyle as a regular citizen. And the program, I had an opportunity to talk with them last week, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Van Ness, and they really offer some hands-on, tangible instructions as to how to get acclimated back to a community and become a productive member of society. So I'm excited about that as well. So So mark your dates for March the 4th. The Ready to Work Rockdale program will be alive and well again over at the library, and we'll be telling you more about that as we approach that date. Also, Ms. Nesbitt came out this morning and talking about the Conyers Food Festival. Absolutely. This is an excitement for this particular area because, as you know, we often, as she spoke, we often have to go down to the Atlanta area for events of this particular nature, but now we're having these types of activities come to the Conyers Rockdale community, and it says a lot about the thinking. And I was so proud when I had a chance to talk with her yesterday to find out that she is a resident of Rockdale County, and we have this kind of hidden talent right here, and they're so responsible for what happens down in Atlanta. And she says, listen, we're going to bring it right here home to our own backyard, to Conyers and Rockdale. So make sure you mark your calendar for March the 29th for the Conyers Food Festival. Just wanted to give them another plug in that direction. Also, so many people in the community, and today is no exception, just don't know what number to call other than 911 for non-emergency related calls. And I want to give you that number this morning because a lot of folks, other than tying up the 911 system, they have calls they want to make to the fire department or ambulance or to the sheriff's office, but they don't want to dial 911 and tie up the system. That number is 770-483-4200. Again, the number is 770-483-4200. And I know the folks over at 911, the fire department, the sheriff's department will be certainly appreciative, as well as National EMS Service, to make sure that folks aren't tying up the 911 number when they can call the non-emergency number. So that number, one more time, is 770-483-4200. And I just wanted to make sure we pointed out all of those great things are happening in Rockdale County. We've got some great talent here, a lot of wonderful things. We're asking that you take heed and embrace all of the opportunities and possibilities that 2014 has to offer.
Thank you. I'll make my comments very brief because we must be out of here because I thought that we're going to be standing and eating our food. But I can tell you on last night, the SPLOST Oversight Committee met, and I can tell you it's a very good report. So I'm going to come back to next time and talk about the successes of our SPLOST Committee and what we're doing in this county in terms of preserving our roads and our recreation. So I'm going to come back next time. So those are my comments today because I'm going to be very brief. And I think I have been brief. So, Madam, is there a need today for executive session?
No.
Okay, then we got to get up out of here. So thank y'all for coming out tonight. This meeting is adjourned. And thanks for coming out.
I was going to do an executive session for litigation.
We would be by ourselves.